Most of us spend a lot of time browsing websites, and that's even more true in this age of COVID. But what is your browser telling you and telling companies about you? In this talk, I'll show you some of the ways your browser might be compromising your privacy and some countermeasures you can take to help. The two biggest factors in browser privacy are cookies and JavaScript. First, cookies. A cookie is a small piece of information that a website stores inside your browser. And cookies do lots of useful things. For instance, when you log into Gmail or Amazon or Facebook, the website sets a cookie, and the next time you go back there, it sees the cookie and it knows who you are, so you don't have to log in again. And there's nothing wrong with that. The biggest problem is what's called third-party cookies. That's a cookie from a different website, something different from the page you're on. For instance, let's go to the calendar for upcoming county council meetings. Now this is Firefox, but I'm going to switch to Chrome for this. To view cookies, you need a developer tools window. Right-click on the page and choose Inspect. And then choose the Application tab. Now, I'll be going through this fairly fast, and I know it's hard to remember details, so I'll give you a link at the end that has all the information you need, so don't worry about following the details. Anyway, you see there are quite a few cookies here. losalamos.legistar.com is the page I was on, and it has 14 cookies in here. And who knows why it needs 14 cookies, considering I haven't logged in, I haven't done anything except view a single page. But that's not the concerning part. The concerning part is these other two, Add This and BlueKai. And there are a whole bunch of cookies from these two companies that I never went to. I never went to Add This. I never asked for anything from BlueKai, but they're setting cookies in my browser anyway. Who are they? Well, they're social data mining platforms. They provide buttons on websites for share on Facebook and things like that, these buttons here. And you may remember back in 2013, Facebook got sued for the information they were collecting from like buttons all around the web. Well, that's these companies, and they're still around, and they're still collecting your information and sharing them with other companies. So every time you go to the county council page, they're setting lots of information, they're sending information to these two companies, and then it's going, well, anywhere. Let's look at the same page in Firefox. In Firefox, you view cookies similarly. Again, you do right-click on the page and you do Inspect, but there's no Application tab. Instead, you use the Storage tab. Now you notice BlueKai isn't there anymore. We have the same 14 cookies from losalamos.legistar.com, and we also have Add This, but Add This doesn't have any cookies. Firefox seems to have blocked cookies from Add This. So Firefox is actually a little better at privacy than Chrome is, and I'll show you why later in the talk. But enough about cookies for now. An even bigger attack surface is JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language that lets web pages run programs inside your browser. And it does a lot of cool stuff. It lets you drag interactive maps around and read your Gmail and stream video. And that's all great. But JavaScript is also a great way of invading your privacy. JavaScript can monitor every character you type inside the browser, or every mouse movement you make. It can look at what other websites you visited recently and what's going on in your other browser tabs. It can read the cookies that other websites have set. It can read your location. Well, sort of. It gets that wrong most of the time. Sometimes it thinks I'm in Minnesota or somewhere like that. It never thinks I'm in White Rock. So it takes a guess at your location. And finally, it can make network connections and send the information it's collected to anyone, anywhere in the world. So it's kind of a privacy disaster. There's third-party JavaScript too. For instance, let's go back to that county council calendar. And instead of the storage tab, In Firefox, I'm going to click on the debugger tab, and that shows all the different sites where it's running JavaScript. Again, there's add this, but there are all these other domains too. There are many different scripts running on this page, and there's no way of knowing what they're doing or why they're running, or where they might be sending my information. Well, is there anything you can do about any of this? Let's talk about browser countermeasures. First, cookies. You can control cookies with preferences. Chrome calls it settings. Same thing. You click on privacy and security. Now, cookies are a little way down here, but first let me show you the tracking protection that Firefox comes with. This is why Firefox didn't see BlueKai and why it didn't set any of those cookies from add this, because by default, Firefox is blocking some social media trackers, crypto miners, fingerprinters, cross-site cookies. It doesn't block all of them. It's not perfect, so it still helps to have more elaborate settings, but it's a good start. Now, under cookies, I want to highlight this preference here: delete cookies and site data when Firefox is closed. That means it can set anything it wants, but when you exit the browser, it's all gone. It forgets everything, and you have a clean slate next time. And that's a really good preference to set. The only problem with it is that you might have cookies that you want to keep. For instance, if you spend a lot of time in Gmail or on Facebook or something like that, you might not want to log in every time. And so you might want to keep those cookies. Well, if you click on Manage Permissions, you can add facebook.com or Gmail, google.com, but it's a little bit tricky. I mean, it's not always obvious what website you need to add there. So there's actually an easier way. You can use browser extensions. You go to the add-ons menu, and there's an extension called Cookie Auto Delete, which is a pretty good extension. It's recommended by Mozilla, which means that they've checked it and verified that there aren't any, that it's pretty secure. It's not going to steal your data. At least we hope not. And if you do that, I'm going to switch browsers yet again. This is the browser I actually use for everyday browsing. And I have cookie auto delete set. Here I am again on the Los Alamos Legistar page. And if I click on the cookie auto delete button, it shows me the cookies that it wants to set for this page. And if I wanted it to save those, I could click on whitelist and it would make rules for it. Now, in the case of Legistar, I don't understand why it wants any of those cookies. They're not any good to me, so I'm not going to do that. But for example, I go to eBird all the time, and I want to be logged in all the time. I want it to keep me logged in. So on this, I've clicked on whitelist, and it made these two rules. So cookie auto delete is pretty useful. Now, there are lots of other good extensions. One of them is AdBlock Plus. It blocks the most annoying ads on the web, the ones that blink and flash and distract you while you're trying to read things. And it also blocks a lot of trackers because most of the really bad trackers are associated with advertising. So AdBlock Plus is pretty good, and it's very simple. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to set up rules or anything. Getting more radical, what about blocking JavaScript? You can do that. There's an extension called NoScript. And here on eBird, there are 4 different scripts it wants to use, or 4 different domains from which it wants to run scripts. Now, I've allowed 2 of them. I've said ebird.org is trusted and Google Tag Manager is trusted, but Google Analytics and this other one, I don't see any reason to run scripts from there, so I leave them off. And that gives you much better security, but it's not for everyone. It can be a bit tricky. For example, if you go to the Santa Fe New Mexican, the newspaper with NoScript, this is what you see. And I click on the NoScript, and it wants to run scripts from all these different places, if you can believe that. And I've allowed a few of them. But to see these images, I would have to allow some more of these. And I don't know which ones. You know, I would almost certainly need to allow SantaFeNewMexican.com, but I'd probably need to allow 3 or 4 of the others. And it gets complicated. So NoScript isn't for everyone. If you want to try it, please let me know, and I'll be happy to talk with you about techniques. So you see, browser privacy is a little bit complicated. I've only scratched the surface, but people need to know some of the way companies and governments can track you and some ways you can start protecting yourself. If you want to know more, go to my website, shalofsky.com/privacy, and you can see a transcript of this whole talk with lots more details. Thank you, and stay private.